Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Good. So nice to see all of you looking beautifully and dapper in your beautiful wares. Awesome. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 9th Annual Economic Summit presented by the Naples Area Board of Realtors. On behalf of NABOR, I would like to thank you for attending. We have assembled an exciting panel of 3 distinguished economists today who will be giving you a wealth of information that is crucial to your business. Together, we will learn how to successfully grow and compete in our fast-moving real estate market as a result of the valuable data and information we received today and be better equipped to achieve greater professional and business success. We are honored to have many governmental officials in attendance today. I would like to recognize our elected officials in the audience. Collier County Commissioners, Rick Locastro. Andy Solis. Okay. Thank you. Be nice. And Bill McDaniel. We also have joining us today, Collier County Tax Collector, Rob Stoneburner. Collier County Deputy Department Head for Growth Management, Jamie French. Naples City Manager, Dana Souza. Naples Area Chamber of Commerce officials, Julie, I'm going to butcher your last name, Schmelzel. Thank you, Bill. Chairman, thanks, Bill. If I butchered it, I'll buy you a drink later. How about that? All right. Michael Dalby, CEO. Thank you, Michael. Jenna Buzacco Forrester, Government Affairs Director. And the new Executive Director of the Naples, Marco Island and Everglades Visitor Bureau, Paul Biernes. Also in the audience are the NABOR Board of Directors, virtually or in person. Many of NABOR's esteemed past presidents, thank you for your service. And a number of the Realtors Political Action Committee's major donors. Thank you to all NABOR members and guests for attending. I would now like to thank our sponsors for their generous support. Our event sponsor, the Ferpa Group. Technology sponsor, Supra. Program sponsor, Stuart K. Homes. Media sponsor, Southwest Florida Home Inspections. Reception sponsor, DR Horton. And our table sponsors, Gulf Shore Insurance, Law Offices of Sam Saad, Punk Industries, Old Republic Exchange, NAREP, also known as the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, Women's Council of Realtors, WCR, and Keep Collier Beautiful. Please visit the sponsors tables, find out what they have to offer, and support their businesses, services, and products, all of which are valuable to you as real estate professionals. Now it's time to introduce to you our moderator, Jeff Lytle, former voice of the Naples Daily News, editorial page editor for 25 years, and host of the TV show Naples Daily News Makers. Please give a warm welcome to our friend, Jeff Lytle.
Good afternoon. It's great to be here. Boy, is it great to be here. So many good memories in this room, and we'll try hard today to make some more. We're going to start today by recognizing the passing of a prominent figure, a pioneer in our real estate industry at the age of 91. John R. Wood contributed 6 decades of legendary service to the real estate profession and industry and the community. John was a member of the only father, son, granddaughter presidential team at NABOR. His son, Phil Wood, served as president of NABOR in 1986, and his granddaughter, Corey McCloskey, serves as the president of NABOR today. And another granddaughter, Nikki Wood, is the compliance officer at John R. Wood Properties. His achievements are too numerous to mention here, but let us offer a moment of silence in tribute. And now a word from our sponsor. Naples Area Board of Realtors, or NABOR, is an association of over 7,000 members and serves as the voice of real estate for the Naples area. NABOR communicates market statistics, trends, and industry news that impacts our local real estate market and our economy. Today, NABOR is proud to present a panel of 3 highly respected economists discussing not only what the real estate market looks like today, but what's ahead. They will answer some of your burning questions, such as, is this a housing bubble? How much longer can housing prices keep appreciating? And is an inflation storm coming for the housing market? At this time, I would like to introduce the economic event sponsor. Please give a warm welcome to the managing partner of the Ferpa Group, who will tell you about how Ferpa's specialized services can help you make your foreign real estate transactions less taxing. Ladies and gentlemen, B.J. Cottrell.
Thank you very much. My name is B.J. Cottrell, and I am the founding partner of the Ferpa Group. By a show of hands, how many people here know what Ferpa stands for, what it is? It's a good amount. All right. How many people have had a Ferpa deal in the last year? All right. For all of you that don't know, Ferpa is the Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act. And what that basically means is that when a foreigner sells a property here in the United States, the IRS requires the title company to withhold 15% of the gross price. So, for example, if you have a Canadian that's selling $1 million home, they have to withhold $150,000 at closing. Okay. Now it's our job to get all or most of that money back. See, what most people don't realize and they get confused is they think that it's an actual tax. That 15% is a tax because it goes to the IRS. When in reality, it's just a withholding to make sure they pay their taxes. But see, the IRS is really good with foreigners. They actually give them $40,000, a little more than $40,000 each of free capital gains. And you only tax on the gain. So what you bought it for, plus all major improvements, minus what you sold it for is the gain. And they only pay capital gains on that. Plus they get the first $80,000 free if it's a husband, wife that owns the property. So what we do is we fill out the necessary paperwork. We do the necessary work to get all or most of that money back. Now, I've been doing this for about 15 years here in Naples. And about 5 years ago, we created an actual department within our firm that specializes just in foreigners' taxes and Ferpa. And we call it the Ferpa Group. So when we did that, we created a really good tool for you real estate agents, okay? We created a Ferpa Calculator that's out on our website. So before you go to any listing, especially a foreigner's listing, go check out the webpage because you can answer some questions. What they bought the property for, roughly what you think you're going to list it for, some other little detailed questions, and it'll give you a printout, not only of a summary of what Ferpa is, what the withholding is, some of that good information. It also will give you a calculation to show what the person is actually going to owe in taxes. So when you show up and you have multiple people possibly pitching a client at a listing meeting, and you show up with a document that shows, listen, I know $150,000 is going to be withhold, but look here, at the end of the day, you're only paying $10,000 in taxes. If you can show them that, you're going to be the one that's more educated, that's more intelligent, and you're going to get that listing. So we have that out there. It doesn't charge anything. Feel free to go there, prints out a nice little 2-page PDF that you can bring with you to any of your listing appointments. Also, another big thing is rentals, right? We're seeing a lot of foreigners starting to do VRBO, short-term rentals. They want to be able to carry or cover some of their carrying costs because they're only here for 2, 3, 6 months a year. So we actually specialize in that as well. We can help your clients deal with the sales tax, with tourist tax, with filing tax returns, getting ITIN numbers, et cetera. So we specialize in that as well and can help out your clients. And then the newest thing we're starting to do, if we have any attorneys or title companies out there, we're starting to become kind of the back of the house. So instead of the title companies having to fill out these IRS forms and unfortunately making mistakes a lot of the times because it is an IRS form, we can help you guys excuse me, we can help you guys fill those out as well. So we have some good information, some sample of those 2 pages back there for the website and stuff. And we'll be out there to answer any questions you have any. Thank you very much.
And now. Oh, I should also offer a thank you to NABOR for in the program, they were kind enough to include the photo of me from my high school yearbook. It's very much appreciated. But seriously, here we go with our first speaker. He's from Orlando. He's the chief economist and head of the industry data and analysis department for Florida Realtors. He oversees the department which provides realtors, the media, and public with comprehensive Florida real estate statistics, as well as analysis of issues and trends that impact the state's economy and the real estate industry. Please, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Brad O'Connor.
Thank you. All right. So you have decided to attend an event where 3 economists in a row are going to speak. What is wrong with you? We are going to be covering different things. So Elliot will cover the broader national economy and issues and zero in on some more local things too. And then Lawrence, I'm sure, will be focusing on the national housing market predominantly. And that leaves me to focus on a laser-like level on Collier County itself and our great state of Florida. So I'm going to get started right away. Jump right into it, sharing my screen. Closed sales of existing single-family homes, okay? So I'm going to start off with the single-family home market. This is Collier County, and what I'm showing you is not recent data. This is 2018. I'm showing you 2018 because this gives you a sense, if you can remember, what a normal year is like in real estate, okay? You get the ramp up in closed sales into March, April, and May, the vaunted spring buying season, and then we settle down a little bit in the latter half of the year and get ready for winter. I'll add 2019 to the mix. You can see how they compare. Pretty much the same pattern. 2019 was a normal year. At the end of 2019, actually, I heard from all around the state from realtors, but particularly down here, that in late 2019, I'm hearing from all of you, this winter buying season is starting a little early. This looks like this is going to be incredible. And the first 3 months of 2020 were incredible. It's just unfortunate that we have the pandemic, which obviously led to a huge dent in our sales here in April and May. But then we had, I don't think anyone saw this coming. A lot of the economists, we got it right on not panicking about home prices crashing or anything like that during the pandemic, because we knew supply and demand would both drop and that would have an ambiguous effect on price. But I don't think any of us really called how many home sales we were going to see. So incredible second half of the year. I have to say it was much more pronounced even in Collier County than most other places. And we'll see more of why as I continue. But let me not forget that 2021 has been even better so far. It's been off the charts. Just look at it's not 100% more sales than we saw in 2019, but in some of these months, it's been pretty close. Now, just by comparison, here's the same chart for Florida. A very good year statewide. 2021, we're still above levels of the last 3 years, but It's not Naples good. So you've been busy down here. I can see it. Jumping over to condos and townhouses. Collier County on a monthly basis suffered more in the condo and townhouse department than the single family home department, which is what we saw in the rest of the state as well. It didn't matter where you went. We had 3 months where we were down on a year-over-year basis. And then we started to recover, not so quickly as single family homes recovered, but had a nice ending to the year with condos and townhouses. Then came 2021. Huge numbers of sales of condos and townhouses. I think initially where people might have been afraid to buy into multifamily units, maybe because of fears of the virus, that went away pretty quick, especially as prices have risen as much as they have. Condos are more affordable on a relative basis. And again, Florida, overall condo townhouse sales this year have outshined single family home sales. I'm getting asked a lot lately about cash sales. There are a lot of cash sales going on. Obviously, if you're working with buyers who have been frustrated that investors are outbidding them with cash offers, that's just going to continue for some time right now. This is as a percentage of closed existing single family home sales, and you can see we're well above normal levels. Another part of this, especially in Collier County, has to do with the mix of housing. High-end luxury properties, $1 million+ naturally have a higher rate of cash buyers in any market. And so the more the scale tips towards those types of sales, then the more the median gets pulled up. And then we've got fintech and iBuyers. I don't know, not necessarily that prevalent yet. If certain markets, it's been prevalent where they're allowing people to essentially pay all cash, even though they're actually going to take a loan out and pay the fintech company. So I know actually Lawrence's team just put out some research on this that I would advise you guys to check out. He might even mention it. Condo and townhouses, it's not been nearly as extreme, but we are seeing elevated level of cash sales there too. Looking a little more forward, as all of you know, closings, especially in the case of financed closing, take a while to go through. So sometimes it's a little better to look at new contracts or new pending sales to get a sense of where the market's going. And you can see here in Collier County, this is not unusual. This is happening elsewhere in the state. We've dipped below our 2020 level of new pending sales. And earlier you could see the closed sales were on their way there. So this ports, this is not something that we didn't, that's unexpected. If you look at the 2020 data, not only did we have free falling interest rates, but we missed our spring buying season. So a lot of that demand got pushed back. So it really would be a little unreasonable to expect us to outdo the 2020 level of sales going forward, but keep an eye on 2019. I think we're still going to stay well above that. So comparing to the last normal year, we're still going to see pretty strong sales. Same thing with the condo and townhouse chart. We're moving in under that blue line, not necessarily where, we wouldn't necessarily expect to be above that line for too long. The housing market wouldn't be able to do it. Another line of data that kind of gives the same picture as those new pending sales is mortgage purchase applications. This is data from the Mortgage Bankers Association. And I would ignore, by the way, that little peak right there. That's April. This is a year-over-year number. So what that's saying is that purchase applications were up 60% year-over-year this April. That's because we're comparing it to April 2020 when the pandemic was raging. So ignore that number, but the rest of the numbers are pretty legit to look at. So what we want to focus on here is the last couple of months. So not only is the rate of new contracts slowing down, but we're seeing a slowing in the rate of mortgage purchase applications back down to a more traditionally normal kind of level. This is the same chart, but I've added a couple subcategories. The one I want to focus on is this blue line. And again, April, you can ignore that data. But everything else, I mean, it shows that top line, the investor non-owner occupant applications, okay? Looking at that, these are mortgage purchase applications essentially for non-primary residences. So it would include vacation homes and second homes and a property you might want to invest in. So it's not just cash buyers. We've got people investing or buying second home properties with mortgages. It's slowed down a little bit over the last couple of months, but it's still up 40% year over year. So you can see that segment of the market is remaining very strong relative to historical norms. On the opposite end of the spectrum, this green line, which is below the orange line for all applications, is just the FHA and VA loan applications. And if any of you have worked with buyers who are looking more into the starter home line of homes, the FHA loans just can't cut it against all those cash offers and everything else. So this is basically, I'm assuming, reflecting what you're seeing out there on the ground. Showing you closed sales for Florida again. This time I've put condos, townhouses, and single family all into the same category. And this is going to further illustrate the point of where the sales are. I'm going to go through the same chart, but I'm going to show you by price tier. So I'm going to start at the bottom. Here's sales under $250,000 statewide. You can see that 2021 has not been a good year for that kind of sale because nothing's priced in that range anymore. So that's part of why you're going to see this trend in the graphs, but I'm going to keep going up 300 to 400,000, 400 to 600,000, 600,000 to $1 million. You see the trend here. Sales have been growing in most price tiers, but it's the higher you get, the higher the price, the more sales you're seeing. So the luxury market has been the most improved over the last couple of years and through the pandemic. So on that note, I'm going to share with you now, economists, we generally like to use very accurate data. When it comes to migration, the Census Bureau, the IRS, both put out very good detailed data sets on migration from which one county to another. You can get that kind of data. The only problem is that in order to make it that accurate, it takes them about 2 years to get the data set out. So everyone wants to know what happened after the pandemic started, and we're not really going to have good numbers until we've got the data from the Census Bureau and the IRS. But while we wait, economists, we had to call an audible, and we found this unlikely source of data, maybe a likely source, but it's the United States Postal Service. Whenever you move, what do? You change your address. Now, you might fill out the form for your whole family. If you've all got the same last name, you can do it that way, or you have to fill out individual forms, or if just one person's leaving the household, you've got to fill out individual forms. We're able to count the number of, what I've got here is the count of total changes of address. I've merged the family numbers with the individual numbers. So what you're seeing here is not a number that's population, and it's not a number that's number of households. It's somewhere in between. But the point is just to make comparisons. And what you do when you do that, so I've got you ranked here. These are the top 10 metros that fed Collier County changes of address, permanent changes of address in 2020. And of course, number one is Naples, because Collier County is naturally going to be the source of most people moving to Collier County. So 23,000 or so residents of this county filed to move elsewhere within the county in 2020. Or not residents, but 23,000 people filed a form. Followed closely, not closely, but next by Cape Coral, Fort Myers. That's Lee County, so your neighbor up north. 3 other Florida metros show up in the top 10 here. South Florida, in particular, is worth of note because you can go over farther to the right on the table and see that was a 25% increase over the number of people who moved from the South Florida area over to Collier County in 2019. That's 408 additional families beyond what you would normally get, or so on. Orlando and Tampa, not as much. But Florida's boring right now. We want to talk about people moving into the state instead of moving within the state. That's what people want, that's what grabs the most headlines. So looking at it that way, I'll get rid of all the Florida metros, and I'm re-ranking these by the absolute number of change. And you can see here what's obvious. What metro area on this list has seen the biggest increase in the number of change of address forms? It's pretty obvious. It's right at the top. It's New York. So let's drill down on New York because it just leaves everyone else in the dust. If we look at, I'm not sure what's wrong with the slides, but that thing is persisting beyond slides. If we look at it by borough or county, so I've included the 5 New York City boroughs and then all of the other counties in the New York metro area and ranked them, it's not all over New York that people are flocking to Florida from. It's predominantly been Manhattan in 2020. Manhattan, a lot of these are very high income counties. Westchester is very high income, Suffolk County where the Hamptons are, very high income. What makes Manhattan different is it's also very dense. There are a lot of wealthy suburbs around the United States, but there are very few core cities that have a huge, very wealthy urban population. San Francisco is one of them. New York is one of them. Unsurprisingly, those are the two cities that have shedded the most people over the last year. A lot of other large cities actually haven't lost a terribly large amount of people because they were already in the suburbs, those who have the means and the types of jobs that are easily movable. So Manhattan, huge contributor. 160 doesn't look like a big number, but they're coming down here buying $1 million properties. That's a big number. And I'm not even counting the people buying second homes down here, right? These are people who permanently changed their address. So it'll be very interesting to see if that trend has continued through this year when we're able to get the data on that. Another way to look at it is by percent change from last year. So a lot of these metros in this list, I'll tell you right now, have not added a terrible number of people to Collier County over the years, but on a percentage basis, they saw a huge increase. I think it's interesting. There's two types of cities in this list. One is cities out west that have for years seen massive population growth and have been seen as some of the best job markets to be in, best, essentially, where a lot of America was growing to. But in fact, 4 of them are in California, the 4 I've highlighted here, including the first 2, which are the 2 Silicon Valley metros. And then there's Seattle, Denver, Tucson, Vegas, and Dallas as well. The other kind of city on this list is Pittsburgh, which I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan. I'm originally from Ohio, so I guess I have no problem with Pittsburgh other than do we really need more Steelers fans? There's enough, but you know what? We'll roll with it. So we've done the demand side. Let's look at the supply side. Active listings of existing homes for sale, the dreaded inventory number. If you look at the last couple of months, it's not going down anymore. I'm not going to call that going up yet, but it's definitely not going down right now. It might start going down again. I don't want to jinx it. But this is the number, this is what your buyers experience when they're trying to find a home to buy, and they go on the MLS or the website of their choice, and they find 0 properties listed meeting their criteria day after day after day. Or if they see one, it's gone by the time they can react, and you can react. That's what low inventory is. That said, I think a lot of sellers have gotten it in their mind. We keep talking about inventory, me and other economists. We keep focusing on this inventory number. That's made a lot of potential sellers think, oh, well, no one's listing, I shouldn't either. But the fact is, a lot of people are listing still. It's not that no one's listing, it's just that we're not getting enough people to list. So if you look at this 2020 number, yeah, it was down in March and April last year, but new listings in most of the rest of the year, especially the mid part of the year, here in Collier County, they were way above the 2018 and 2019 levels. In the latter part of the year, they were about where they were in 2018 and 2019. And so far this year, since March, new listings have been well above normal levels again. We're getting a lot of listings. The problem is they disappear after about 5 minutes. So if you look at median time on market, we had a little tick up there in the last month or so, but we're still under 20 days on the market. Half the homes are selling, going from a list to contract in less than 20 days. It's statewide, it's much lower than that because Collier County has a higher price point and larger, more expensive homes always have a longer price point. So a longer duration on the market, but trends are trends. This is my cake slide. It looks like a beautiful rainbow cake produced by a professional baker. What it is the median price of closed existing home sales for Florida homes going back to 2011. None of the layers, none of these lines ever cross each other. So what that means is that we have not been down in terms of price on a year-over-year basis for over 10 years, hundreds of months, or over 100 months. Now, I did the same chart for Collier, and this looks like what happens if I tried to bake that cake. Your prices plateaued a little bit around 2017, but you're seeing a lot of the same trends as the rest of the state now, right? 2020 up through 2021, luxury market on fire, and so is your median sale price. I will actually divide this out into single family and condo, however, because it's worth noting, single family home sales have actually plateaued over the last few months in terms of median sale price. It's condos that are still rising in terms of median sale price. A little bit, we're getting more inventory now, that's helping a lot. And at the same time, a lot of the splurge of buying that we saw out of the Northeast and that I was just showing you data for might be dying down a little bit for now. There's always the potential. We're definitely rooting against this happening, but if there's another wave up north as the fall comes around, like happened last year, you could see renewed interest in coming and moving down here. So something to keep an eye out for, but not root for. What's driving demand? So numerous factors. This is almost straight out of Elliot is sitting there looking at me. He's going to recognize that I probably just ripped a page out of the first chapter of an economics textbook, which I basically have. One of the first things you learn in an economics course, Economics 101, is that there are several different factors that can move demand around. And I've listed some of the most common ones here. The bottom one, changes in expectations, was a huge one in the last housing cycle when we had the bubble, because everyone had the expectation that prices go up forever until they no longer had that expectation. So that was what was driving prices back then. That's not what we have really driving prices right now. I'm going to focus on these three. Changes in consumer tastes and preferences. How many of us loved our home before the pandemic, but are having second thoughts after we've been trapped in it for several months? Maybe we need more office space because we're working from home more. Or if you're me, I've got 4 children and I hate mowing lawns. I have a very small lot for my house, nice house, but small lot, which is how I like it. I do not like to mow the lawn, but I have 4 children and they've been everywhere. And I've been working from home a lot. I would now like a larger yard, I've decided. So the builders aren't going to be able to come through for me from what I hear, but the demand is there. So we've seen that. We've seen work from home, potential for work from home changing how consumers view housing. That has generated demand. Changes in the number of potential buyers, population growth. Right now, the millennials are moving into the prime home buying years. They've been for some time. The oldest millennials are now 40 years old. And this peak here of Florida's millennials are now into their 30s. And that generation, by the way, doesn't stay the same size. It will continue to grow as more people move to Florida. So eventually the millennials are going to be much larger than the boomers here in Florida are right now. That's going to give us a multi-year tailwind. That's something that doesn't disappear overnight, like changes in expectations. That's a good thing. That's going to propel the national housing market. Employment here in Florida, we lost a lot of jobs. This is the 2-month loss in jobs between February and April 2020. And we lost nearly 500,000 accommodations and food services jobs. And they were the hardest hit sector, followed by retail. Now here's comparing February 2020 to a couple months ago here in June. We've gotten a lot of jobs back. I have to warn you though that we've gotten a lot of jobs back compared to where we were, but we need to look at where we should be. So we need more to get more than just 150,000 food and accommodations jobs back. But that's one of the main differentiators between this recession and the one we had with the Great Recession is the sectors were not hit the same way. We lost 350,000 construction jobs. It halved our construction workforce in the Great Recession. We've barely lost maybe 1 or 2% of our construction workforce this time. It's just a completely different type of economic event. And it goes to show you how much construction workers are in demand. Interest rates, I'm not going to dwell on it too much because I'm sure Lawrence and or Elliot will cover them, but big picture, interest rates were high in the 80s. Now they're not. and we've transitioned there generally on a pretty smooth basis. But just zooming into the last few years, it's these last couple years that really also helped to supercharge the market here in Florida and nationally. And the interest rate doesn't know what it wants to do this year. It decided it's going to stop falling to record low levels, but I keep seeing forecasts saying it'll be at 3.5 by the end of the year, or it'll be near 3. Economists are pretty all over the board on their predictions for this right now for the interest rate, which is fairly normal. I guess one thing they've agreed on is that it won't really be down by the end of the year, although if it keeps going the way it is, maybe that'll change. So something to keep an eye on for, because that's going to have potential to heat up our market or cool it down a little bit. Show you why. Here is a chart on the top. This is just median sale price over the years by property type. It's been going up, as I showed you earlier with the cake slide. Now here's a slide or a chart at the bottom that shows you what the estimated monthly mortgage payment would be based on prevailing interest rates at the time and whatever the median sale price was at that time. And in that respect, up until, from the end of 2018 until where we're at right now, we actually saw a decline in the typical monthly mortgage payment that you'd have to pay. So housing in that respect was becoming more affordable between 2018 and the beginning of 2021. But now you can see what's happened in 2021. The interest rate is it's not plateauing, but it's definitely not falling like it was last year. So we're losing that benefit, but prices are still going way up. So because of that, we're actually now above where we were in 2018 in terms of what your monthly mortgage payment is going to be. Mortgages in distress. I'm not hearing, I think economists have done a really good job communicating to everyone how this is not the same as the foreclosure crisis we had before. This is the data I use to explain part of it. The blue line is data from CoreLogic, and it's their count of how many mortgages in Florida have not been paid in at least 90 days. This includes those in forbearance. So this isn't just legal definition of delinquency. This is essentially anything that hasn't been paid in 90 plus days. There's a slight difference in the percentage of loans that are 90 days delinquent now versus 2010, if you can notice that on the chart. Not only that, but I'd have to say there's, if you look at the percentage of homes that are in a forbearance program right now, first of all, the forbearance programs have done a great job in getting people to be able to keep their houses this time. They've done their job. The data we have on people coming out of forbearance has been extremely positive. Much better. We had a much better plan for a lot of things this recession than we did the last one. However, there are still about 100,000 homes in Florida that are in some form of forbearance. So let's just assume a worst case scenario. This is a fun little exercise. Let's assume that, well, first of all, let's pretend it's still August because I'm going to show you August data. But let's just say on August 31st, every home that was in forbearance had been listed at the exact same time in Florida. A flood on the market. Well, here's what would have happened to inventory. Inventory would have risen, skyrocketed to about where it was in 2018. We'd still be at about 3.8 months supply of inventory. If you follow that statistic, that's still a seller's market. Not even a guarantee that prices would have gone down. They might have just plateaued. So I wouldn't worry too much about foreclosures. New residential units authorized by building permits, which is the data set you have to use if you work on a state's data instead of the national data, because the Census Bureau only reports on actual new construction starts for the national level and the regional level, not the state level. So I use building permits for Florida. You can see there's been an uptick the last couple of quarters in building, predominantly among single family homes. It's an improvement. We still need a lot more housing. Look at that gap between 2006 and 2021. So the supply outlook, I'm sure, again, Elliot and Lawrence will touch more on what's going on with builders, but they continue to face constraints. The lumber thing was really eye-catching. Lumber prices tripled at some point last year, but there's been some long-term issues with the construction market that are why we're underbuilt in the first place that haven't gone away. We don't have enough workers, skilled workers, and the perennial problem of there not being enough land. And again, there might be a slight uptick in distressed listings, but from that example I just showed you, I don't see anything like we saw last time. And again, new listings, existing homes will be above recent levels. I am curious about what's going to happen as the eviction moratorium expire, because right now all the data say this is a great time to be an investor and a landlord. Rents are skyrocketing, and they're going to. I showed you the demographics. We just need more housing, period. We're not building it fast enough. It doesn't matter if you rent or buy real estate. Residential real estate is a good place to be. And yet, a lot of issues people had to deal with who are landlords right now, I know some of you are in the audience, have probably got you very fatigued. So I know of several examples of landlords I've talked to who are just thinking about getting out right now. So keep an eye out for that. Demand outlook. First-time home buyers, the millennials, again, that's a tailwind we get for several years. Rising interest rates will eventually dampen some of this rising demand, but I can't tell you exactly when. High prices, low rates of starter home construction will remain a challenge for this group of folks. Hopefully, in the communities they want to live in, all of the boomers will decide to move to Naples so that they can get their houses. Investor demand, again, very strong, as I just said. That's going to continue for some time. Not seeing much flipping still, keeping an eye on how many times homes sell within certain periods of time, and we're not seeing anything like we did in the last cycle yet. Vacation and second home demand, like I said, it's declined slightly because we just had a huge rush last year as the pandemic rolled through the country. And so some of that's dying down a little bit. International buyer demand. We've got international buying activity still going on, of course, but it's not at the rate we're used to, especially with regard to Canada. I've put together an illustration here. Now, I didn't do this during work hours, so I did this completely. This didn't take your dues money, did not go to this. This is just 100%. It's a hockey rink in the shape of the US, and Florida happens to be the goal. Right now, domestic buyers are on a power play. I did this just for Elliot. Domestic buyers are on a power play, and Canadians are in the penalty box. But eventually, we open the borders completely. They roll through with their RVs, and they come down to Florida, and they score a goal. I was only 2 martinis into the night at that point when I made this. So that's something to look forward to, but they're going to be facing some domestic competition. If you remember in the years after the housing crisis, it was foreign buyers in large part and investors who helped us find a price floor when the price was falling without abandon. And the Latin American economy was actually doing quite well at that time, whereas we were not. And that actually created a lot of, it's partly responsible for our market recovering in the early 2010s. This time, when foreign buyers are back, they're going to be running into a lot of stiff competition from domestic buyers. And there might be some short-term temporary reductions in demand due to, we've pulled a lot of sales forward. There's definitely going to be people out there who would have bought maybe next year who accelerated their plans because of that fear of missing out. And eventually that might wane a little bit. On the other hand, if interest rates keep jerking us around like they are, you can see the opposite case where we buy more time. So that's something to take into consideration. But I think, on a statewide level, we end up, like I said, somewhere between 2019 and 2020 in terms of sales the rest of the year. I think if I'm wrong, it would be to the upside. I just don't see us dropping below that 2019 level. I could see us for at least a few months going above the 2020 level again. And I'll save Realtor's favorite slide for the last slide, dollar volume, which translates a lot more into commissions than just number of sales. And because of the high prices and high rate of sales, just look at that beautiful chart and look at it close, because I'm not sure the next time we're going to see it look like that. But just look at how dollar volume is 80 to 90% greater in several of these months than it was in 2018 and 2019. Just remember that this is an unusual time period. Don't expect that going forward. So I want to thank you all for your time. I'm looking forward to seeing Lawrence and Elliot, and hopefully I'll see you again very soon.
Our next speaker is someone very familiar, the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. He's also the senior vice president of research And that includes existing home sales statistics, affordability index, and home buyers and sellers profile report. He participates in many economic forecasting panels, including the Blue Chip Council and with the Wall Street Journal and Harvard University. Please welcome the esteemed Dr. Lawrence Young.
Hello, Naples. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the introduction. Well, I wish I was there with you all in person, but currently, I've been doing only NAR-related in-person travel. One of the travel was out to nearby your area, Marco Island. The airport will be in Fort Myers, but going through Naples all the way to Marco Island, that whole area, Southwest Florida, just amazing in terms of quality of life, especially for retirement destination. One area of disagreement I would say right now I will have with Brad O'Connor, is that I think the vacation home sales will continue to increase this year, next year, because the work from home, I think, will outlast the pandemic. Hopefully, at some point, we have this virus under control. Right now, it's going up, going down, up again, and all that kind of stuff. But even after the virus is done and over with, I believe that the work from home flexibility will be with us. That just means that why stay in San Francisco? Why stay in Chicago, New York, Washington, when one could actually work close to the ocean or the Gulf of Mexico out in Southwest Florida? Let me put the PowerPoint slide on the screen, which will help better illustrate some of my thoughts. Hold one second. And please let me know anytime that somehow this technical interruption occurs on the Zoom or at some point. So assuming everything is all right, the first slide that I want to share with you is this striking number. When I looked at this, I said, wow. The blue is the number of live births in the US, according to the National Center for Health Statistics. So in a given year, there's about 4 million live births in the US. And the number has been trending down, especially in 2021, or I should say 2020 during the pandemic and ongoing in 2021. Because one of the things on economic theory is that people do not want to bring new child in times of uncertainty. So perhaps whether it is pandemic or at least last year when the unemployment rate was high, that people thought maybe we should postpone. I know that some people thought being locked up at home will produce more babies, but actually that did not happen. So the number of live births actually went down over the past 12 months. Now, the red line is a sad line for the US. It's the number of deaths that occurred in the country, whether it is from natural death of old age, heart attack, automobile accident, or the drug overdose. And certainly COVID is contributing to this rise in the number of deaths. In San Francisco, I think there is a twice as high number in terms of people who died from drug overdose compared to COVID in the past 12 months, but it includes everything. So the total death has risen such that it is actually matching. Now, the overall US population is still rising because of immigration, the legal immigration that's occurring, but also the illegal immigration. Now, certainly we feel uncomfortable on that number. People want to control the border, but in terms of the actual numbers, the overall US population would still be rising even with this birth and death statistic because there's a number of people coming into the country. One recent development is that the rents are really beginning to strengthen. It's only occurring in the past couple of quarters. So before the pandemic, the rents were rising 3% a year. Then during the lockdown vacancy rate rose. People went to parents' basement. They could not stay in their own apartment. So the rents really did not move all that much. But in recent months, rents are truly popping out. This data is from CoStar, which is showing 8% increase in rent from 1 year ago. But if one looks at other data, whether it is the apartment association or private multifamily apartment managers, all is showing something similar, 5, 6, 7% increase in rents. So why is the rent suddenly making a strong upturn? Well, so the apartment vacancy rate is falling. Job creation, jobs recovery is leading people to come out of parents' basement and seek out their own housing demand. But the reason why the rental housing demand is really rising is this chart. This is the total home sales. The red line shows the activity essentially before the pandemic, before this ugly virus showed up. And then we had the lockdown, so home sales plunge. But once the economy reopened, and Florida was one of the early states to reopen, consumers were watching record low mortgage rates, falling mortgage rates. So home sales surged like a huge wave. But if you look at the recent months, home sales are not the frenzy activity as it had been. Rather than the 20 multiple offers, now you are getting only 2 or 3 multiple offers if you are getting the multiple offers. So it is no longer frenzy. So sales activity is still above pre-pandemic, barely so, nothing major, but it is clearly showing that home sales are less strong now compared to what happened in the autumn months of last year. So the surge is over. People are not buying home, people are renting. And that's where the rental demand and the rent increases are occurring. This is the mortgage application to buy a home. Most people take out a mortgage. Maybe in Naples region, given you have the retiree population coming in, they don't want to take out a mortgage. So they're buying home all cash, but most Americans do take out a mortgage. And the mortgage application in recent months or recent weeks is actually below pre-pandemic. Home sales, as I showed you in the prior chart, or let me go back to the prior chart, is still above the pre-pandemic. So even though mortgages are sliding down below pre-pandemic, well, the gap is made up by the cash. We are seeing larger than normal cash transactions. It could be that some people got lucky on cryptocurrency, selling their cryptocurrency and buying home all cash, or the stock market is at a record high. But the multiple offer situation, you want to distinguish yourself in a multiple offer. And one way to distinguish is to say, look, I have all cash. Forget about those mortgage offers. Choose me because I have all cash. So maybe this is the reason why the cash transactions remain elevated. And certainly in your market where you are seeing many retirees, especially the wealthy retirees coming into your region, it would be larger than normal cash transactions. This is the movement at a nationwide basis in terms of the median price. So median prices were marching steadily. And then he made a sharp hockey stick upturn. Well, we are using a lot of reference to hockey, but this is a sharp upturn in the median price. So what is happening is that the rental demand remains strong or recovering strongly because some people are simply priced out. 1 year ago, home prices were 20% lower. So people could buy a home 1 year ago, but now at 20% higher prices, they're simply squeezed out and therefore they don't want to buy. I'm sure there are some small number who are concerned about housing market bubble. I would say it's not a bubble because we don't have an oversupply situation or those bad subprime mortgages, risky subprime mortgages. Good thing we don't have those mortgages. So the chance of something that occurred 2007, 2008, I don't foresee. But Some people may be concerned, and that's why also they are preferring to rent for a little longer period. But right now, the rental demand is very strong because people are simply getting priced out. This is a nationwide price trend in the country. And mortgage rates are at historic lows, but with prices rising so much, the people's monthly mortgage payment is rising. So low rates are not bringing the mortgage payment down, rather high prices is actually making monthly mortgage payment to steadily rise on a nationwide basis. And this is the median price in the Naples region. I think 2010 data, there's a lot of foreclosed property sales, a smaller size home getting transacted. Many wealthier homes, those were not on the market. So, this is really reflecting back in 2009, 2010, more about distressed property sales. But look at the recent years. Typical price, median price in Naples region were running about $450,000, but sharp upturn in the past 12 months. Now approaching $650,000, $700,000 in the median price. So again, some buyers are simply getting priced out. Therefore, they're saying, time out, I'm going to rent for the next 12 months, and hopefully I'm in a better position to buy. But this rental period is raising the demand, and therefore rents are rising strongly. Home price increases is certainly a great news for property owners, homeowners, real estate investors. They're enjoying, but it's squeezing away the first-time buyers. But if we look at the total housing value across the country as reflected in the green line, it is at an all-time high, including making that sharp upturn in the past 12 months. The red line is the mortgage debt outstanding. So the mortgage debt outstanding is also at a record high, but those are inconsequential because the gap between the green and the red is the housing wealth. So there is a plenty of buffer. I agree with Brad in terms of I don't foresee a price decline. Prices growth over the next 12 months will not be 20%, but I think more normal 5% range. In Naples, maybe a little higher because you are continuing to see wealthy retirees coming into the region. But hypothetically, let's say there is a price decline. First, it will be a good news for first-time buyers. They will view it as a second chance opportunity. So any decline, there will be rush of buyers and quickly get the price back up. But second, even if there was a price decline, it's not going to cause any financial market distress because there is plenty of housing wealth gap. There's green line, much above red line, so it can easily absorb any price decline without causing any crisis to the financial market. This is a chart that is quite compelling. The wealth difference between a typical renter and a typical homeowner. The blue line, blue bar is 2019 and the official data from the Federal Reserve. They don't have the data for 2021. So 2021 data is my estimate based on recent price trend. So if you are a typical homeowner, you have about $300,000 in wealth. Most middle-class families have wealth in their housing, some from their retirement account, some money in the bank, but most related to their housing. And given the price increases, these are substantial wealth for a typical homeowner. While the renters are struggling. They're barely able to save up money. And now with the rents rising, it's going to make it even more difficult to save up for the money. But right now you see that substantial gap, which also highlights that home ownership is good for home buyers over the long term. Even those individuals who bought in 2005, they lost the property values, but it came back strongly now at an all-time high. Inventory level was very low. I found it very insightful when I saw Brett's chart on hypothetical. All those property that could go into foreclosures, if they were to reach the market now, it will be a welcoming news. I mean, certainly not an oversupply situation, but as you can see on this chart, that the inventory is making a turn for the better, but we are still way below what it was 1 year ago, 2 years ago. So this is the reason why we have a strong run up in prices. This is the reason why first-time buyers are getting squeezed out. This is the reason why we need to build more homes, bring more supply to the market, because without it, we're going to have this divide between haves and have-nots. Homeowners enjoying strong price gains, while the renters essentially feeling left out. So we need to assure that the ladder for the opportunity for home ownership exists. And only way to make that happen is to assure that home prices rise moderately, not spike upwards, for 2-3 consecutive years. So this past 12 months has been good in terms of homeowners, but the next 12 months will be critical in terms of prices not rising strongly in order to give first-time buyers a chance. Why do we have shortage of inventory? Because home builders have not been producing enough. Housing start, this is the number of new home construction across the country. Red would show what the country needs given the normal population growth, and also based on historical average. So from 1960 onward, in some years, it was a little above average, other years, a little below. But what has happened from the foreclosure crisis back in 2008 onwards is that America has been underproducing, consistently underproducing for 15 straight years. And the cumulative effect of this underproduction is we don't have enough inventory. And that is why we need to produce more. And I think in 2021 and 2022, my forecast, we will produce more. It will go above historical average, but still not enough to compensate for all the underproduction of the past 15 years. Housing oversupply chance minimal. Even with foreclosures coming onto the market, we need more inventory because we simply are in a tight housing shortage situation, including apartment shortage. So it's not only about the home ownership, single family homes on the market, but not enough rental housing available or housing units for rentals in apartments not available and causing the rents to rise. But the concern going forward over the next 12 months is that mortgage rates, the red line, which have been at exceptionally favorable conditions, we are no longer at the absolute low point of 2.7% as happened in December and January of this year. But we are very close to that level, 3% mortgage rates, very favorable. The green is what the interest rate the Federal Reserve is charging, something called Fed funds rate. And they are essentially at all in, lowest possible interest rate, 0% on Fed funds rate. But when will the interest rate begin to rise? Well, before the Federal Reserve pulls the string on the green line, I think they will do something called a taper tantrum. And you will hear this phrase in the financial news more frequently. So what is taper tantrum? Well, best way to put it is the following. When your client gets a mortgage, whether it is from Wells Fargo, Bank of America, or your local mortgage broker, they're originating those mortgages knowing they can sell it to Fannie and Freddie. And Fannie and Freddie knows they can sell it to the Federal Reserve. So Federal Reserve is currently purchasing this mortgage-backed securities, MBS. Federal Reserve is purchasing Fannie, Freddie, MBS. It's making the market liquid. But one of the first things the Federal Reserve will be doing is they will taper, stop purchasing, or slow the pace of purchase. That means Fannie and Freddie has to sell it not to the Federal Reserve, but other buyers. Who are these other buyers? It could be Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. or it could be German mutual fund or Chinese government. But they will only buy if they offer slightly higher interest rate. So once the Federal Reserve begin to taper, mortgage rate will inch higher. Moreover, next year, I think the Federal Reserve will actually be raising the short-term interest rates. Currently at 0, they're going to steadily increase. That means that will also push up mortgage rates. So from you and your clients or potential clients, when is the best time to lock in mortgage rates? I would say probably about now. It is possible that I am wrong in my forecast and mortgage rate may actually dip for a couple of weeks. But general trend is longer you wait, higher mortgage rates that you will face. Another negative is raising of G fees or guarantee fees. Fannie and Freddie, they charge slight fee to cover potential default. But as part of the infrastructure spending, it's not a bill yet because the Senate and the House of Representatives, they're trying to decide what is the right part. But it looks like they, as part of the infrastructure spending, which is needed in terms of building bridges, expanding Wi-Fi connection, as part of the funding for that, they may raise the G fees, which means that your client may have to pay an additional $200 or $300 in this almost like an insurance fund, but they're putting that insurance fund to pay for the infrastructure. So that's also a negative. But one positive development going into next year is that Fannie Mae will consider rental payment as part of their financial responsibility. So people who can demonstrate they can pay rents on time consistently, it will make it easier to qualify for the mortgages. So even at higher interest rate, more people may qualify for mortgages next year as they consider rental payment as a positive attribute for financial responsibility. So why is the Federal Reserve going to raise interest rates next year in my forecast? Because the inflation is getting out of hand. Inflation rate currently high is in 20 years or 25 years. I'm not sure, but you can see on the chart, it is getting very high, better than 5%. We had a meeting, NAR President Charlie Oppler with other people with the White House to express this concern about high inflation. And the White House believed that this inflation is transitory, meaning nothing to worry about. And by the year end, it will go back down to about 2% inflation. I'm not so sure, because not only is it an irritant, you are paying higher prices at the grocery store, you are paying higher prices at the gas pump. Realtors certainly drive more than the general population. It's annoying and it's irritant. But higher inflation, if it becomes permanent, is that Federal Reserve has to be more aggressive in raising interest rates next year. Rather than 1 or 2 rate hikes, they may do 3 or 4. So it is critical to see the path of the inflation going next year. And what are some items as to where the prices are rising? Used cars up 42%, because there is a computer chip shortage for building new cars, and therefore people are buying used car, and the inventory available at the used car dealer, those are depleting, and hence they are able to raise the prices. Gasoline prices much higher. Your new home buyer, they're happy. Now they want to buy a refrigerator or laundry machine. It's going to cost them dearly, up strongly. If you eat bacon, well, you are angry because prices are rising much faster than people's wages. As you go down the list, on the very bottom, college tuition appears to be manageable. Maybe the universities feel guilty about online education last year, and therefore most universities are barely raising any tuition this year. Rents, according to government data, which is part of the consumer price inflation, they're saying it's rising only 1.9%. I'm not sure if that's correct, or maybe the government will eventually catch up with other private sector data. I showed you at the very beginning, CoStar apartment data showing rent increases of close to 7%, 8%. So maybe the government data is lagging, which means that we may have actually higher inflation in the upcoming months as the rents data correct for what's really happening in the marketplace. But right now, the government is saying the inflation, 5%, is going to be transitory, but it could be permanent, which means higher mortgage rates for the market in 2022 or even later this year. Let me now turn towards the job market. We are not back up to normal yet. Before this ugly virus appeared, there was about 150 million Americans with jobs. And then we lost massively, especially in the tourism industry areas. Orlando was hard hit. Naples, restaurant business is hurt. So we saw large job losses, but steadily jobs are recovering. Stimulus package partly helped. So you see the jobs recovering, but not back to normal yet. Here is a 50-state variation. Before pandemic versus most recently available. Florida, down 2.7% in terms of total jobs. Georgia, Alabama, they're down more modestly, 1.4%, 2.3%. Louisiana, dark shaded color. Louisiana was hurting even before the hurricane, but now with the hurricane, it's going to be tough going. But if you look at the darker blue color states like New York, Michigan, California, they are down significantly because governors in this state had a stricter lockdown for a longer period. Florida was one of the earlier states to reopen, but Florida is dependent on tourism, and that's why you are down a little more than other states. Look at Hawaii, completely dependent on tourism. They're down 11% in Hawaii, while Florida is down only 2.7%. Only states to have more jobs now compared to pre-pandemic is Idaho and Utah. These are the only two states with more jobs today compared to before the pandemic. Now, if we look at the job market in the Naples region, metro market, from year 2000, it looks like the following. There was only 90,000 jobs back in the year 2000. Then during the housing market bubble, right before the crash, 130,000. Then the foreclosure crisis happened and you lost jobs, but then you had a long streak of job creation. You lost job during the pandemic lockdown, but now you are recovering essentially back up to pre-pandemic, at least in the Naples region. So about 150,000 plus jobs in the region. So these are very strong growth. Many people coming to Naples, they don't want job. They're retirees. They want to live a comfortable life, but they still need health care workers. They need some financial industry workers. They need restaurant workers. So as more retirees come, it also means job creation in the Naples region. The job market is not fully back up, but one thing that is really popping out is help one assign. There's help one assign record number in America, and I'm sure you see it. I know you want to have a good meal at a restaurant, but it takes a little longer to bring out the food because they're running into shortage situation. So job openings at a record high, even though total job employment is not back up to normal yet. Forecast that I have is that even though home sales are settling down, no longer frenzy, home sales will be up about 10% this year compared to last year. And the key reasoning is in 2021, you have 12 months of activity. Last year, 2 months was a lockdown, washed away, but this year, 12 months of activity. So even as the home sales are becoming less frenzy, it will be one of your best years ever. Then 2022, I actually see home sales coming down a bit because of higher mortgage rates, especially for the workers. But one interesting sector that is refusing to recover is the office sector. This is a work from home situation. Many companies will reevaluate about use of office. So New Yorkers, if they don't have to come to office 5 days a week, People are wondering, why am I in New York City? San Francisco, very expensive. One can have a mansion in Naples while they sell their small townhouses in San Francisco. So if work from home is a possibility and flexibility, many people will say, why don't I have a home in Naples, or at least second home in Naples? So they have a small apartment in those big expensive cities, Chicago, San Francisco, Washington, Boston, but they also want to enjoy their second home in Florida. And consequently, the vacation home sales are popping out. And I think this will continue to grow in 2022. So this is a quite new phenomena, I think clearly benefiting Southwest Florida. So thank you for listening. And now I am going to turn it back over to the host. Thank you.
It is now my great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who saved the best for last. He says. He specializes in making sense and fun out of economics. He's the chief economist for Graphs and Laughs, an aptly named company. He is an internationally acclaimed economics and public speaker, and the former senior economist with the National Association of Home Builders in Washington, which brings up a key point. We're accustomed to referring to our next guest as being from Washington. I'm here to tell you that he's now from Florida. Florida's big here. He now resides in Miami, and his research and opinions have been featured in Bloomberg, Businessweek, Forbes, Fortune, and many other publications. And I'm also told that his daily 70-word commentary on the economy, which is available online, and the price is very reasonable. Am I right? $0. And I'm told that it's really the bomb, so you might want to check that out. Please welcome, presenting the topic we all want to hear about, maybe we might not want to hear about, the economy in 2022, growing but slowing. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Elliot Eisenberg.
My gosh, it's a pleasure to be here. Wow, it's a pleasure to be here for I don't know how many reasons. It's a live audience. There's lots to talk about and so on. So let's get going. Look, I want to begin this by telling you, look, the economy's okay. This is the single most important thing. Yeah, there's Delta variant, and GDP in Q2 only grew at 6.5%, not 8.5%. We would have liked better. So there's this problem and that problem. Look, every day we're all a day closer to dying. But I don't focus on this and say, oh my God, I'm going to die a day sooner. My day's ruined. No, the day is good. I'm healthy. We're doing fine. This is the way I want you to think about the economy. Yeah, there are problems. Nothing's perfect. Yes, there's some inflation out there. We'll talk about it. Things aren't growing quite as fast as we'd like. Delta variants come back with some semblance of vengeance. But just take it with a grain of salt, really, a grain of salt. So let's begin and, oh, this is wrong. Here you go. Look, the economy, as I say, is improving. We're going to have above trend growth this year. We're going to have above trend growth next year. It may not be as much as we'd like, but look, it's still pretty damn good. The economy is like getting like a B+, right? It's better to get an A or an A-, but a B+ is pretty good. A lot of you, I'm sure, graduated college with a C, right? And you still did okay. So don't worry. Right? The GDP is composed of 4 terms: C, household consumption; I, corporate investment; G, government spending; and the term in brackets is net exports. Household consumption has been very good. We've been spending our brains out, mostly on stuff, and now we're transitioning to services as opposed to goods, and that's going to have some implications for housing, which we'll get into. The second term is I, corporate investment. Firms aren't investing in plant because no one knows what plant they need to invest in. Are we going to need this? What's the new normal, post-COVID normal going to look like? Do I need to make more hand sanitizer? People are going to come back to work. We're going to have corporate travel. How about logistics, frozen food? Are we going to deliver food? I don't know. So firms are investing in stuff. We'll talk about that. Government spending has been crazy stimulative until recently, right? Stimulus checks, this, huge budget deficits, but not going forward. The deficit in 2020 was about $3.2 trillion. The deficit in 2021 is going to turn out to be about $3.1 trillion or $3 trillion. And then 22, it's going to fall to $1.5 trillion. So there's going to be a huge decline. It's going to be an economic drag on our economy. So the Biden money that's kind of started coming because of the American Families Plan and Jobs Plan that I'll talk about in some detail is kind of convenient. It's not all bad. In the last term, exports minus imports, it doesn't really matter all that much, but it's been mildly negative. Why has it been negative? It's been negative because Europe and Japan and Canada and other Australia, they have been growing more slowly than us because we've been much more stimulative policies than they have been. And because our economy grows faster, we're sucking imports from them and they're not sucking imports from us. So the detriment is it hurts our trade deficit. The benefit of this is that it lessens inflation. Because had we not been able to import the stuff from Europe and Canada and Mexico and Australia, there'd be less of whatever it is we want to buy. And that would jack up inflation, making it even worse. So in economics, there's never a free lunch. The cost, worse trade deficit, the advantage, a little lower inflation. So this is a pretty good story. Is it growing as fast as I'd like? No. Is it going to grow in the future as fast as I'd like? Probably not. But it's still going to grow above trend and we're still growing well. So just relax, enjoy it. It's important. So this is, I think, the perfect example with everything wrong with our economy, auto sales. The recession ends, right? Auto sales, they plummet. You can see here, they're in the garbage can here, 8 million, 9 million units. It improves, and then it gets better. Whoa, awesome. And then the bottom friggin' falls out. And you go like, WTF. How can this be? There's huge demand. You know, no one's working in the office. We're all working at home. So we now need, and we're moving to exurbia, suburbia and exurbia. So I'm moving from downtown Chicago to rural Naples somewhere. I need 4 cars. I got to have a beach car, and an office car, and a home car, and a car for the kids. And you can't get the cars. Why not? It isn't that they don't want to make the cars, that they can't get parts for the car. They can't get pieces, the chips. Yeah, someone said chips. You want to come up here? We can do it together. But we need chips. You said it. We need chips. Yeah, we'll sit down together. We'll be okay. We'll be a team. Come on up. Just you and I are going to have a conversation. Ignore them. It's just you and I. So we can't get chips. When's this going to end? This is a serious problem. This problem will last for a very long time because you can't make more chips. Not so easy. You have to build a fabrication plant. Fabrication plants take years to build. They cost $5–10 billion. And now in 3 years, we're going to be up to our derrieres in chips because Japanese are making chips and the South Koreans are making chips, the Taiwanese and the Americans and the Japanese, the Chinese. We'll have too many. But in between now and then, not enough chips. So this problem of automobiles will be with us for a while. Other problems will go away, but not so much the automobile one. Total sales, holy cow, this is retail sales. Essentially, this is something you put in your bag and you walk home from a store with, or that Amazon can deliver to your house. They've been good. Why? Look at this trend. We have a trend. It's very clear. It should be somewhere around here right now, right? But it's there. So what's going to happen? It's going to come down. You're going to be reading about for the next months, real retail sales. Retail sales went down month over month. They went down year over year. And your response should be, of course they're going to come down. They're way above because you bought a Peloton for yourself. You bought a Peloton for your husband. You bought a Peloton for your daughter. You bought a Peloton for your ex-wife. How many more Pelotons? I bought a Weber grill for the outside. I bought a pergola. Yeah, I bought pavers. I bought a Sub-Zero fridge for outside. I bought a TV set for outside. I bought a pool for outside. I bought an RV for outside. How much more crap do I need to buy? So it's going to come down. This is a natural process. This isn't good. It isn't bad. It's just a return to some semblance of normalcy, right? This is all fine. This is it. This is it. You see here, this is goods way above trend. That's trend. This is way above, and now it's going to come down. This is services. It's going to go up. This is important. When you bought stuff, you were at home. You were locked in your house. You had nowhere to go. I remember this. I didn't go to the dentist because I was going to get COVID and I was going to die. I didn't go to that barber. No, I had a man bun right here. I thought it was really, really cool on the side, not in the back, on the side, because I didn't want to go to the barber and die. So you're stuck in your house, you buy all stuff because you're living in your home, you're nesting, you're doing things in your house. But now that goods are going down and services are going up, I'm now going to bars, I'm going to ballet, I'm going to baseball games. I am leaving my house. And you know what? I'm happy about it. I don't want to be in my house. I've been in my house too long. I'm happy to leave. I'm happy to forget about my house. So as sales of services goes up, the thought about nesting and housing goes down a little. So this should all else equal reduce slightly the demand for housing as we go forward, because we're going to be out of our damn house. We're not going to think about our house so much. This is fun. This is credit card sales. They're fine. This is through July 22nd. This is July of this year. They're okay. Now August, okay, it could be a little weaker. Yeah, whatever. This is pretty good numbers. I'm pretty happy with this. Now this is the golden terrible story. It's friggin' COVID. And as Powell, chairman of the Fed, always tells us, the economy will go as goes the virus. And it goes on its merry way. And it does its thing. And no one has any friggin' clue why it does what it does. But we do know that in 1918, we had 3 waves of the virus, and then magically it went away. It killed like a lot of people, and then mysteriously it went away. Why? Who knows? Did it attack all the people and kill them who they could, and the rest were resistant and it went away? I don't know. But what we do know is they come and they go. These waves don't last forever. First wave, second wave, third wave, and we're now in the 4th wave. And you can see it up here. The wave is peaking out. Why? I don't know. No one knows. I've asked all these epidemiologists and virologists, and they go, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because we wear masks. Maybe it's because we wash our hands and then we forget and we get lazy. Maybe it's because, when it's low here and there, we lick doorknobs more or something. I don't know, but it's whatever it is, and they don't understand why it doesn't propagate more when it goes. I mean, why can't it go higher than this? Why can't it get higher? But it's going to come down. And you know what? In 3 months or 6 months or 9 months, there'll be another wave. And the big thing that I stay up and late, waiting, thinking, being terrified about is what if there's a resistant variant that comes, right? Then we're in the crap can. Because they can make a new drug. That's no problem. Pfizer and BioNTech and Johnson and AstraZeneca, they can make a new one. But it may take them 2 or 3 months to formulate the thing. And then to get it out to 100 and 300 million Americans and 7 billion people in the world, this takes a weekend or 2. So this could be a problem. Do I foresee it? I don't even know. They don't know anything. No one knows. But it's the possible dark backside thing that could happen. But this is going to end now. It's going to go down. We should be better. Fall comes, winter comes. It should be good. We should be good for the foreseeable future. I'm kind of happy. Then you look at data like this. This is the University of Michigan data. It's good data. They ask the question every 2 weeks. The survey's very high quality. And you can see here, on the far right, it falls out of bed. The data is so bad here, it made me go like, how can this be? This data literally says we are more unhappy today than we were last April, May, and June. That is not humanly possible. I mean, is anybody in this room feel worse today than they did in March or April of May of June of 2020? I mean, maybe there's one of you here who has a habit who can't get bought or something. But by and large, you're pretty happy, right? And then moreover, look at the next slide. The next slide is the Conference Board's consumer confidence data. Also a good survey. It's been out for years, really quality data. And it's down a little bit, but not even close to being worse than it was last March, April, right? 18 months ago. So what the hell is going on? Which one's right? The answer, they're both right. Literally. This survey essentially asks questions of people asking, hey, you want to buy a car and you want to buy a house? People go, wow, cars are really expensive. Lawrence Yoon just showed us used car price up 47% or something, right? So I don't know. How about a new house? It's a kind of, there's no inventory. I can't afford it. Payments are high. I don't think so. So this one's looking at prices of big ticket items. Well, not surprisingly, it sucks. This one, by contrast, essentially is asking about the quality of the labor market. The labor market has rarely been better than it is today. I want to get into some detail in the labor market, but it's fantastic. So if I ask you, hey, are houses affordably priced right now? You go, I don't think so. And if I asked you, hey, how's the job market? You said, well, I just got 17 job offers last week, I went to a store and I'm not kidding, a restaurant, and the owner of the restaurant offered people jobs. Hey, you want fries? Hey, how about a job with those fries? I'm not kidding. I heard them offer a job to the people in line to buy the food. Yeah, this is as good as it gets, right? So they're happy. So you put it together, not literally put it together, but this is a survey put out by another company. It's Hamilton something, I forgot, HPS-CS. You can Google them. And here it's perfect. This is one survey. They ask 5 questions, and you can see some of them are going into the crap can, and some are great. This is essentially the Conference Board questions. These are essentially the University of Michigan questions. Ta-da! So when you see the Michigan survey going into the crap can, don't worry about it. The economy is not following. It's just housing and autos. Not irrelevant to this audience. I get it. But don't worry. People are still going to buy houses, right? They're going to sell houses. You know, thank God people have what? Death, divorce, and disease, the 3 Ds. Or they call it, sorry, change of circumstance. Is that the word you guys use? It's, yeah, don't use the 3 Ds, but you get my point. So the economy's fine. Consumer sentiment is decent. It's understandable why it's deteriorated. COVID's come back and things are more expensive. Yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. But look at this as other data mobility. This is taking your cell phone and getting directions to go somewhere. It's pretty good. I don't see a real problem here. The US as a whole is in black. And you can see it's gone up, actually. It's fine, thank you. People are doing it. Look, we're here doing this now. Last Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday, football, high school, college, pro. The stadiums are full. People are drinking and partying. I'm not sure that's the smartest thing. We can argue. But, you know, people are willing to live with COVID. They're willing to take some risk. They're willing to make some compromises and adjustments. They've gotten vaccinated. They're wearing a mask. They're not vaccinated, whatever it is. Yeah, well, people are living with this. This is the issue. Here's hotels. How good are hotels doing? There are a lot of lines here. So this is the 20-year average is this dark blue line. 2019 is the dotted line, and 2021 is the red line. So what I want to see is the gap between the blue and the purple and the red, right? I want to see this gap shrinking, and then it gets wider again. Crap. So there's been a little bit of deterioration right here. Not a lot. It's down because of seasonality. It's been down that year, right? And this year. So there seems to be a downer this time of year. There's a decline because kids are back in school. We're not going on vacation, right? So the down itself isn't meaningful. What's the meaningful is the gap between where we are and where we were over 20-year average and where we were the year before last. And it's okay. We're generally improving with a little bit of decline. This is gasoline purchases, how much gas we're buying. And it's the same sort of thing. This was the historical trend, right? This is 2020, Jan, Feb, first half of March, then it goes to hell. Then it improves and it sort of bumbles around and it's flat. Now we go into the new year, it's still flat, and then it gets better, and then it goes a little bit down. So the data's going better, and then the last little bit, it's gotten a little bit weaker. It hasn't fallen off a cliff. It hasn't gone to hell in a handbasket. It's just a little weaker. This isn't the end of the world. Is it going to mean slower growth? Yes. Longer to recover jobs? Yes. Slower job growth? Yeah. Okay, I'm not thrilled, but I'm also not sitting here going, oh my God, I have to wear sackcloth and ashes, you know, and mourn. That's a little extreme. This is total consumption, goods and services, inflation adjusted. And this is pretty good data. So here's the trend, right? And just keep the trend going. It's right where we are. We're back where we should be. We're over consuming on goods. We're under consuming on services. This will switch over time as we continue to go out to restaurants and bars and movie theaters and stuff and buy fewer Pelotons and Weber grills and so on. But we're roughly on target. Is it true that government spending, you know, money going, stimmy money, unemployment checks are going to decline? Yeah. But now they're going to have child support money that's going to come, and we're going to have job growth that comes. So there are compensating factors here. This is not a one-way street. Income is not all going down. And we'll come back to the income theme a little bit later on the inflation topic. So this is okay too. This is manufacturing. Manufacturers are happy out of their minds. I don't understand quite why. I'll be very honest with you. They can't get labor. They can't get parts. They can't get input. They can't get drivers of trucks. They can't get drivers of ship captains. They can't get engineers for trains. They can't get people to unload the containers in the ships. The ships are backing up. I don't know. I mean, these guys literally must snort a line of coke every day to be this happy, given all the impediments that they face on a regular basis. I don't understand why they're this happy. What they do know is they can sell everything that they make. Whatever it is that goes out that door will be sold instantly because there's pleasant pent-up demand for stuff, and we can't meet it, right? So this is manufacturers. Now, this is services. So this is bars and restaurants. And you can see it quickly goes way up, and then COVID, this new wave of COVID comes and it comes down. 50 is neutral here, 50. As long as you're above 50, you're growing. We're still comfortably growing. Another data piece came out on services today. This is from Market. Another one came out today. It's much higher, down also, but higher. So again, you see deterioration here. You see oops, wrong direction. You see deterioration there. There is clearly deterioration. But again, it's measured, it's limited. We can argue how material it is if you're a lawyer. Yeah, it's sort of material, but not exactly, right? So it's a little bit of weakening. Am I sitting here? I'm not crying in my beer. I'd like a beer, but you know, we're okay. This is small business sentiments. This is NFIB. I think someone may have mentioned it earlier. Was it you, Brad, or did Lawrence? Someone mentioned it, I think. They asked, how do you feel? This survey has some pros and cons to it. The pro is it's small business. You guys are small business, right? So this clearly is picking up your general sentiment. The problem is this survey has become, to some extent, a political Rorschach test. And when Trump won, it skyrockets. And when Biden won, it went down. Now, that clearly is not economic conditions instantly changing here either, right? So this survey is not quite as useful as it was to me because I'm afraid it's gotten a little bit contaminated here with politics, like a lot of things have. But the thing is it down a little bit of late? It is also down a little bit of late. So clearly across the board, there's a bit of deterioration. It's not a tragedy. This is the problem with our economy. There's nothing in the friggin' store. You know, I read articles about what it was like in the Soviet Union when they had no food in the store, right? And they had just like olives. That's all they had one month, or like socks or something. And the rest of the store was completely empty. This is what I feel like this is, because this is retail inventory to sales ratio. Forget what the inventory to sales ratio means. I don't even care. It's meaningless. I'm an economist. I don't even worry. I look at the trend and say, look, it's between 1.4 and 1.5. That's where it lives. This has been since 2013, even before. It's a little bit lower, but 1.4, in a recession, it went up, fine, because suddenly no one was buying things. We bounce along, we're happy, we're happy, we're happy. Then we go into recession, no one buys anything, the inventory ratio skyrockets, and then it friggin' completely collapses. Because you can't get a ship, you can't get a plane, you can't get a train, you can't get parts, you can't get labor, you can't get raw materials. I heard an interview with the guy, the CEO of like Post Cereal or something. He said, yeah, we can't get boxes, we can't get flour, we can't get trucks to transport the stuff. What else is there that they're selling? I ask home builders, they tell me every single thing in the house, like a bag of nails, more expensive. A window, more expensive. 2x4s, way more expensive than cheaper. You know, it goes on and on. Then one guy told me, oh yeah, we got a book from our supply house of the cost of the items to buy for the house. They mail us the book. And then 4 days later, they send us an email saying, every price in the book is wrong, add 5%. You can't make this, it's too stupid to make up. But it's true. This is the serious problem. And this is inflationary. There is no doubt when you can't get anything, it's inflationary, right? Because whatever you want to get, you can't get it. It's more expensive as a result. We're going to come back to this too, right? Look here, this is it. There are more friggin' ships off the port of LA Long Beach, which is it's not one port, it's two, but it's the biggest port in the US. A third of all imports come through LA Long Beach because they're coming from Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, and China, right? There are more friggin' ships backed up now than there were in the worst of the times back in January. So the cost of the ship, way up. The cost of a container to ship stuff is way more expensive because the containers are all stuck on the ships. And they're not just stuck here, they're stuck in Rotterdam, and they're stuck in Antwerp, and they're stuck in Tokyo, and they're stuck in China. They're stuck all because the longshoremen have COVID and no one's unloading a ship. So that's why the cereal costs more money. And this is just crazy. We'll get into why. Here, this is the cost of a friggin' ship. This is the index price. So a couple years ago, 2015, 2016, normal times on the far left, the index value was 1,000, right? Now it's 4,500. The cost to rent a ship to go cross ocean, not the cross country, that would be bad. But you get my point. Across the Atlantic, the Pacific, this is for dry stuff. So you're moving soybeans or corn or wheat or iron ore, something like that. The price is more than quadrupled in no time flat. A year ago, it was here at 500. It's now 9 times as expensive to rent a ship as it was a year ago. This is all going into the cost of goods. And it's part because you can't get the goods and you can't get the ship. And they can't build ships fast. If you think, well, they'd be building lots of ships, but they can't get supplies, they can't get people, they can't get inputs. They got the same problem. The ship builders in Japan and Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and China, they can't make ships fast enough either. So everything's more expensive because our economy's whacked out. Okay, why is our economy whacked out? It's whacked out because normally, under normal conditions, when you exit a recession, demand and supply, they kind of go up together. But not now. Now, demand is here and supply is here. And demand is here and supply is here. There's this big yawning gap. We're ready to do all this stuff. We want to spend and consume and do, but we can't get people to make and service. That's the problem. We'll get into why a little bit later on, but that's the problem we have. Here's capacity utilization. You would think under these conditions, with infinite demand for stuff and producers can make and sell whatever they make, you think firms would be working 24/7, right? No. The automakers have closed down assembly lines because they can't get parts, and they aren't the only ones. Other ones are too. So right now on the very far right, capacity utilization is actually less than it was before the recession began, right? You see that there? And what's interesting about that is right before the recession began, capacity utilization sucked. Because you can see it here, right? You can see right there, it went down dropped like a rock falling off a cliff. Why? If you remember, President Trump imposed tariffs on the Chinese. So what did the Chinese do in response? They retaliated. I know it's shocking, it's unbelievable. You could never have thought that up, but they did. So there was less trade between us and China and us, right? So manufacturing took it on the chin. Manufacturing was essentially on the verge of a recession back in 19, and we haven't even gotten back where we were at that near recessionary level before COVID hit us. So manufacturing's happy, but they're not making much stuff because they can't get parts, labor, inputs. We've gone through this list before. But what have firms done instead? Ooh, they're buying capital goods. Whoa! They're buying like software. Why? Because you can get software. You can't hire a person, no one's to hire, right? You can't get stuff. Let's hire software to do work for us. Let's buy a robot that makes hamburgers or something. I'm not making it up. It's a one-armed hamburger maker. But let's do other things to compensate for the fact that we can't get inputs and can't get the ship and can't get the drivers and can't get the engineers and can't get the flatbed trucks and can't get the supplies. We'll do what we can. That's now. Now, you're going to read very soon, not only are retail sales going to start going down, because we explained that already. Now you're going to hear capital goods orders are peaking out, and they're going to start to go down too. It's enough to make you think that the economy is going into the handbasket, but it's not, because this can't go up forever either. You know, you've bought the robot, you bought the software, you bought this, you bought a computer, whatever you can buy to compensate for not getting what you really want, you're compensating, but then you've compensated enough and you've done compensating. You can't buy any more of whatever it is to compensate for what you can't have anymore, and you're done compensating. And then it naturally dribbles down or stops going up or something. This is just because of the crazy economy that we're in. This is a sign of ridiculousness. This shouldn't be happening. We should be hiring more people and doing what we normally do, but because we can't, this is the next best alternative. And that's the way it is. On the good news front, oil prices are up. I'm not exactly thrilled paying $3 a gallon for gas, but at $3, I'm not exactly bitching, right? At $4, I'm really bitching. At $2, I'm celebrating, right? $3, yeah, it's okay. So $3 is good. You see here, this is exploration and production. So number of rigs being used to drill holes in the ground is going up pleasantly. I'd like it to go up a little bit more. It's never going to return to what it was there or there. Interestingly enough, it was 900 at the peak, this recent peak. If you go back 5 or 6 or 7 years, it was at 17 or 1800. And they learned to produce more oil with fewer rigs. I'll just tell you three quick things. One, they can now drill down 2 miles down, not a mile. They can drill miles wide this way. And the rigs themselves, they move. So they drill and they move the rig and they drill and they move the rig and they drill and they move the rig and they drill. You don't need so many rigs if the rig can physically walk to the next place to drill. The technological innovations going on here are astounding. The key thing is it's going up and US production is going up. It's all very good. This is a good thing. I'm happy about this. And corporate profits are friggin' out of control, right? So if you own stock, raise your hands, you're happy. You own bonds, raise your hands, you're happy. You own a house, raise your hands, you're happy. You own some other assets of some kind, raise your hands. You own anything. This is the anything rally. You own a pair of socks, you're probably rich, you can retire. A friend of mine owns a business. He was telling me, I bought a car last year, a couple of cars for the business. I don't like the cars, he said to me. There's something wrong, it is not convenient. I bought 4 of them. I got like 15,000 miles on each of these cars. I said, just sell them. He said, I can't, I'll lose money. I said, no, you don't understand. There are no cars now. You'll make a fortune. You can sell the car that you bought last year that now has 15,000 miles on it and make money. He said, no. I said, yes. He called the place up. And sure enough, he took me to dinner. That was my reward. Okay, whatever. I undercharged. But the point is, you own anything. You own a mask. You're rich. It's crazy. So corporate profits are phenomenal. This is very helpful for housing. Share buybacks are probably going to break the record for that was set in 2018, right? If not, it'll be really close. This is the first 9 months or whatever it is, right? 8 months or something, through August 10th or whatever it is. This is really good numbers, right? The economy is doing pretty good. These firms, look, GDP is now higher than it was before the recession began. Employment is still 5.3 or 5.4 million below what it was. We've learned to do more, literally, with less. We figured it out. What's your name again? Rick. So Rick used to work for me, and then things were bad. I had a restaurant. I wasn't essential. I had to fire everybody. And I brought you back and you back and you back, and I forgot about Rick. I'm sorry. And then next thing you knew, the restaurant's doing great, and I forgot about Rick. And I realized, you know what? You're nice, you're funny, you tell good jokes, you're good looking, but you don't add anything to the restaurant. I didn't bring you back. I'm really sorry. This happened all over the country. We learned as employers that we don't need all the employees, and the employees learned that they don't need the jobs. It goes both ways. We'll talk about this more. But a lot of workers realize they don't want to do the work they used to do either. And that's part of the problem in our labor markets right now. But corporate profits, they're friggin' amazing, right? They're great. So the stock market keeps going up. I don't know how much longer. I'm not a stock market expert. No one's a stock market expert. Stock market makes fools out of every one of us, right? But do I feel a little uncomfortable? Yeah. Do I think that maybe over the next 10 years, the stock market won't do as well as it has over the last 10 years? Yeah, I really do. I think that's probably a good way to think about it. Maybe we got 10% return the last 10 years on average, year-over-year growth. Maybe it'll be 5 or 4 or 6 over the next 10 years. I think if you have that attitude, you'll be okay. The market could drop 20% next week. I wouldn't worry about that too much. Could happen. Who knows what it does? This, for you, is important. Household balance sheets are spectacular because this is the everything rally. You own Bitcoin, you're happy. You own Dogecoin, which isn't even a real thing, you're happy. Ethereum, whatever. There's 11,000 cryptocurrencies out there. All 11,000, I checked yesterday, they're all up, every one. Okay, maybe I'm lying. But look, this is the recession. It lasted a month, 2 months. This is from late Feb to late March. The stock market fell a huge amount, like 10 or 15 trillion bucks was wiped out of net worth. And then, whoa, baby, let it rip. That's why we're buying houses. We saved money. We weren't going anywhere. So we saved 10 or 20,000 bucks over the year. I had people call me up. Hey, Ellie, you know, I used to hang out with my friends. Relatives would come, family, we'd go out to dinner. But now I'm not seeing anybody, and we ended up saving 25,000 bucks. Rick probably saved more because he didn't have a job, right? Yeah. But you know, we saved money, and then forced savings. The stock market, the bond market, the housing market, the auto market, everything goes up. And suddenly we have lots of money to spend on houses. The money we saved and the government money that we got helped us make a down payments in many cases. That drove first-time home buyers into the housing market. They had good income, but no wealth. Well, now they suddenly had wealth because they saved up 20 or 30,000, right? This is unbelievable. As long as the housing market stays up, this is a great story. If I gave you a fear, it would be the stock market goes down, hurts consumer confidence, consumers stop buying things, and then you have a traditional recession. Lack of confidence, things go bad. Could it happen? Sure. Do I think it will? No. The Fed's really concerned about not making things a mess in financial markets. They don't want to surprise financial markets, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But this is terrific. And this is in part, as I mentioned earlier, because of savings. And if I kick myself about anything I missed as an economist in this entire recession, it's this. When the recession began and we were locked in our homes, I should have realized right away there's going to be a staggering amount of forced savings because there's nowhere to go. Who wants to go to a bar and you meet some good-looking man or an attractive woman and you want to buy them a drink and you go, it cost me $35 for the privilege? I don't think so. So you don't go and you don't do anything. So there's this forced savings is what drove a lot of stuff off. Now, let's decompose this graph. The point here is savings was about 7.5% of disposable income, after-tax income, right? It skyrockets because we get stimmy money. It goes down. It goes up because we get more stimmy money. It goes down. It goes up again because we get more stimmy money, and then it comes down. And now it's coming back to normal. I think it comes back to where it was, but maybe it ends up hanging up a little higher. I don't have the answer to this, but I think about this because I have a warped mind. And you think about useful things. I think about this. But kidding aside, imagine you're 30 years old. 12 years ago, you went through the global financial crisis. You saw your parents lose the house or whatever it is, right? And then 10, 12 years later, you have this. Is this changing your view of the world and how much you should save? Maybe I should save an extra $500 a month or $3,000 a year or whatever it is. So if we save more, this will be deflationary. There's no question, right? I don't know the answer, but we're coming back to some semblance of a new post-COVID, hopefully post-COVID normal here, whatever it represents. But it's coming down because we're returning to, sales of goods are coming down because we're coming back to normal. Sales of services are going up because we're returning to normal. Savings rates are coming down because we're returning to normal. So growth is a little slower than we'd like as we slowly transition back to normal. This is bankruptcy. This is nuts. This is plainly nuts. If you look at this graph, you see two really bizarre things. 2020, the year of the phenomenal great lockdown, and bankruptcy collapses. We lose our jobs. 22.5 million Americans lose their job. We'll get into that in some detail. And yet bankruptcy goes down. The other thing you notice, because I am a genius economist and you're not, so I zeroed in on this really fast. I bet you completely missed this. Wow, it's lower than 2006. And I look at this graph and I go, what the hell happened in 2006? Anybody have an idea? The answer is there was regime change in 2006. So in 2005, Congress passed a law making it more difficult to declare bankruptcy. So when that law was being passed, what did the lawyers in the world do? They put a big billboard saying, it will be difficult to declare bankruptcy next year, next billboard. Do it now. So there was pent-up demand for bankruptcy created in 2005 because it was going to be harder to do it in 6. But yet this year, last year, it's lower than it was in the super low year of 2006. Then the housing bust comes and everyone declares bankruptcy and the law did no good. But that's a whole separate conversation. So is there going to be pent-up demand for bankruptcy now? Of course. Sure, some people are going to get foreclosed on. Some businesses are going to go under. Do I see this as a big problem? No, it's kind of like forbearance. It's a problem a little bit, but it'll go back to what it was before. Maybe it'll compensate and go a little bit higher. but nothing particularly meaningful. Why was it so low? If you had a mortgage, don't bother, don't pay, it's okay. Had you have rent payment? Don't bother, it's okay. If you have a student loan, pay it later, it's okay, it's fine. Well, if you don't have a rent payment, a student loan payment, and a mortgage payment, suddenly it's very hard to go bankrupt. What else can you not pay? Oh, student loans, don't pay those either. Yeah, you're set. I mean, no bills, no bankruptcy, right? It's pretty simple. Then now comes this. So now Biden's the president, and he has two ideas: the beige color here, and the schnoz green color here. So this one is hard infrastructure on the left. This one is soft infrastructure. This one is roads, bridges, ports, and broadband. Dr. Yoon, Lawrence talked about this one. They're going to have a G fee increase to help pay for some of this. This one is going to be roughly $1 trillion. This one is bipartisan. Democrats and Republicans passed it out of the House, and it will eventually pass, the Senate passed. It will eventually pass the House, I presume, but things still could go wrong. It's Washington, nothing's guaranteed until it's turned into law. This, by contrast, is going to be a purely partisan effort. The Republicans don't want anything to do with this, and they're going to try and kill it. The Democrats are going to try and pass it on using a process called reconciliation. I'm not going to go into detail as to what that means, but reconciliation is Washingtonese or is English for that to the other party. Because you don't need the other party if you invoke reconciliation. I could use some stronger words, but I won't. So it's basically, screw you, we don't need you, we're going to do it ourselves. But there's a catch. The Democrats have exactly 50 seats in the Senate. The Republicans have 50 seats in the Senate. So for the Democrats to pass a bill out of the Senate, they have to have all 50 senators say yes. And then the Vice President, Kamala Harris, comes in and breaks the tie, and the bill moves to the House. The Democrats have a razor-thin majority of like 4 seats. But just this week, or was it last week? I think this week, last week, Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia, a state that voted for the second most Republican state in the entire country, has a Democratic senator, which is quite in and of itself remarkable. Manchin is a dinosaur, and I say this in a very positive light for him. He has managed to, the second most Republican state in the country, he is one of the 2 senators. Democrats beat on him. I'm going off the rails here, I know. Democrats beat on him senselessly. They have no idea. They're just crazy people. You should be, if you're Democrat, you should be kissing his feet, because this guy is winning a state that he has no business winning. And if he has to cause trouble in some ways because he's of his constituents, just go with him and don't be angry with him, right? If you're a Republican, you're just angry at Trump for blowing Georgia, because Georgia, the Republicans should have kept at least one of those 2 seats in the runoff election. But that's how politics go. So back to our story. $1 trillion here. Let's suppose this passes for $2 trillion, not $3.5 trillion. That's $3 trillion. That's big money, right? Raise your hands if you think it's big money. But it's not. It's not. Here's why. You're used to, Trump signed last March, April, $2 trillion stimulus package, right? And then Trump in December, lame duck session, he signed another $500 billion of stimulus package. And then Biden in March, April signed another $2 trillion of stimulus package. You go, whoa, that's $5 trillion. Here's 3 more. Whoa, no. This is completely different. That was money literally going out the door when the law was signed. So you're getting $2 trillion out the door, or $500 billion out the door, or 2.1 or 1.9 trillion out the door. It was very fast out. It was either spent, saved, turned into Bitcoin, Robinhood, whatever it was, right? GameStop, mem stocks, whatever. This is over a decade. So $3 trillion over a decade, a non-trivial amount of money. The question becomes, is this in and of itself going to be inflationary? That's $3 trillion. And the answer is, I don't see how this can be inflationary. Here's why. This is going to raise the amount of money that government spends in our economy by an entire percentage point. So government spending will increase from 21 to 22, or from 22 to 23, whatever the number is. This is a major change. I'm not belittling this. This is a very, relatively speaking, this is a big deal of how our economy will operate and how big government will be compared to the private sector and so on. It matters. But over a 10-year period, US GDP adds up over a decade to ballpark $300 trillion. This is $3 trillion bucks. It's 1% of GDP. Again, 1% is not trivial, don't get me wrong. But you can't tell me that our economy will have massive inflationary bias because of a rearranging of 1%. Moreover, about 2/3 of this is going to be paid for with taxes. So there's not going to be that much stimulative effect from this. There'll be some, and we can argue whether this is good policy or not, an entirely separate conversation that I'm not going to go on to here. But this cannot possibly be that stimulative because it's largely paid for, and it just friggin' isn't that big over a decade, right? And moreover, in the short run, as I mentioned earlier, government spending is going to be contractionary. Fiscal policy will be contractionary because we're not going to get the stimmy money anymore. It's going to go away. All this government largesse is largely ending. So picking up a little bit of this in 22 and 23 because of this new policies, because of these new bills, is in and of itself probably not a half bad idea. It mitigates against the massive contractionary fiscal policy that we might accidentally slip into, right? Not so bad. If you put all of this together, this is what our economy looks like. Prior, this was the global financial crisis or the housing bust. We come out of it, we bounce along, blah, 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 blah for a decade. And then the bottom falls out of the economy. We slowly dig ourselves out. Then we get injections and things are great for a couple of months. And then it goes down. But it goes down because it has to go down. Anybody here have children? A few of you. You have 4, last I checked. So you've experienced this. Children grow very rapidly at certain stages in their life. If when they're 4 to 5, they grow, say, 3 inches that year. If you extrapolate 3 inches a year their whole life, they'll be a 37-foot person by the time they're 40 years old. Extrapolation is a bad idea as a result, right? Things just happen. They go up, they go down. You can't grow forever. Things don't kill you. You recover from them. Our economy can't go up forever. It's not possible. It's coming down. Because after you take, some uppers, you have a downtime. You must remember this from college. I shouldn't have said that, but you get my point. I'm lying. I never did that stuff, right? Shrooms or whatever it is, there's an afterwards thing that's not so good. So this down thing, okay, would I like this down thing to have a shallower slope and go like this? Yes. That is a realistic ask at some level, but it's not what we got. We got what we got because that's what it is. But this in and of itself isn't so bad. It means our growth is declining. And there it is. If all goes well this year, GDP growth is 6%. I'm making up a number. It doesn't really matter. Maybe it's 5.5. We'll see. Next year, maybe 3.5. And the year after, 2.5 or 2. So think 5.5, 3.5, 2, 5.5, 6, maybe 6, 3.5, 2.25. That's the story. GDP, whoo, because we can't sustain the highs we've been in because it's been artificial. Artificial savings, government spending, lockdown, and this is crazy stuff. Sugar high, it comes to an end. The high is followed by a low. The uppers usually are followed by downers. Now, let's talk about the labor market. The labor market is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. We've never experienced anything like this in our lives. You're an old man. You've been through a lot of recessions. This recession is unlike any recession you've ever experienced. You've been through 14 recessions. Wow, that's very impressive. Yeah. I'd ask you your name, but you're probably too old and don't remember. I'm not going to put you on the spot, okay? So look, this is the story. Right now, we have 10 million open jobs. 10 million jobs. I think you, Brad, you referred to that, or Lawrence did, or whatever. And we have 9 million unemployed Americans. Normally, in a good economy, you have a lot of job openings and no people who are unemployed. They're all working. In a bad economy, you have a lot of unemployed people and no job openings because no one's hiring. Now you have both at a very high level, completely unheard of. This is unheard of. This is crazy. It's because our economy, the demand side of the economy has recovered very rapidly, but the supply side hasn't been able to even come close to keeping up, not even close. So this is the story. We lose 22.5 million jobs from peak to trough in 2 months. And to give you a feeling for how many jobs this is, the US economy in a good year produces 2 million jobs. So we lost in 2 months 10 years of job growth. 10 years. So now people are bitching. Oh, the job market's not coming back so fast. Well, first of all, don't bitch. Doesn't do any good. And secondly, you're wrong. Let's go back and look at 2 recessions back. The dot-com bust. This is the peak employment. Look at how many years it took for employment to return. It took a long friggin' time, right? Well, look at here. This is the housing bust. It took even longer here. That's a long friggin' time. And the job losses weren't that big here, and they weren't that big at all here. Just a little bit of job loss, right? Okay, here it's a lot more job loss. Here, the job loss is immense. And in a year, we'll be back up there. 2.5, 3 years, we'll completely recover from a huge monumental job loss. And people are bitching it's not faster. This is totally impatient. Just cool your jets. Just contain your enthusiasm, people. We're recovering really, really quickly. It's that demand has recovered much too quickly. The problem is the demand side, if you will. Supply is coming back. It's taking its time. It's much faster than normal. But demand is like totally out of control fast, right? Because of forced savings and the stimulus money, and we're locked in our friggin' houses with nothing to do. And now all we want to do is go to a rock concert. And I want to stand or surf the mosh pit at a Guns N' Roses concert. That's what I want to do. But I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid, right? But that's the problem with, we're recovering pretty quickly. I mean, that's a very shallow, we've recovered already 3/4 or more of the jobs. This is job growth. So we lose 20 million jobs, there, and we get back 2.5 million, 4.5 million, and then it goes down, 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 down until there. In December, things hit rock bottom. And you remember that President Trump signed the stimulus bill giving us all $600 checks then, because COVID was raging. The third wave was really, really bad. 4,000 Americans a day were dying. It was really dire. It was cold. Everybody in the Northeast was staying home, heating their houses and killing each other, right? We in Florida were doing fine. We were outside partying and we were doing okay, but they were dying. We get our money and then we start getting vaccinated. And things improve. Better, 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 better. One bad month. Better, 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 better. Another bad month. This is the latest data. We were hoping to see jobs there gaining about 900,000, 800,000, 700,000. We got 250,000 instead. Economists like me were very upset. But hey, things happen. It happened back there in March or April, whatever it was. It happens from time to time. And there's COVID back with the Delta variant. So it's understandable why this happened. If you look at the composition of the jobs, you'll see leisure and hospitality. No friggin' job growth. What, that just happened? No, it's because of COVID, right? Now, the amazing thing is, despite the fact that the economy's number of people dying is as bad as it was a year ago, at the beginning, March, a year and a half ago, right? Life is going on now. These successive waves have less and less economic impact each time because we've learned to deal with it. As individuals, we've learned to deal with it. As firms, we've learned to deal with it. As governments, we've learned to deal with it. We're struggling, we make mistakes, but generally speaking, we've learned how to deal with it better and better each time. There'll be another wave and it'll be less destructive than this wave because that's generally, unless the new wave is resistant to the vaccines that we've received, right? And this is also good news. This is people, the first time claims for unemployment. So the proverbial pink slip, if you will. I'm letting you go. You're losing your job. Involuntary separation is the technical term for it. So at its worst, it was 6 million. So here, in 1 week, we lose 3 years of jobs. And the next week, we lose 3 more weeks of jobs. I remember looking at this data and literally crying because I had just, you just can't imagine that you can lose 12.5 million jobs in 2 weeks. That's just, people's lives ruined, all these terrible things happening. But then it gets better, 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 better until there. And then it gets worse. And it goes up for like 2 months because that's Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, football, Super Bowl games, spreader event after spreader event after spreader event. COVID is raging. And then President Trump signs the lame duck session, $600. Then we get vaccinations and we're off to the races. But then it stops again. And then it gets better again. Economic data isn't beautiful, doesn't go up and down straight. There's head fakes and stutter steps and things go wrong. But if you look at the trend, we're almost back to normal here. We need this number to be below 300,000. In a normal economy, our economy loses 300,000 jobs a week. 300,000 jobs a week is 1.3 million jobs a month. We create 1.5 million jobs a month in a normal economy, not now post-COVID, right? So if we create 1.5 and we lose 1.3, we're net 200,000, 180,000, whatever, and that gets us roughly 2 million jobs a year. Right now, we're at 340,000. We're 40,000 jobs away from me declaring this part of the labor market recovered. This is a remarkably quick recovery. The labor market continues to improve. It's not as fast as I'd like. I'd like it to go faster, but it is what it is, right? This is okay. The problem is this. This is our problem. The labor force has shrunk. The labor force has shrunk for a number of reasons. The labor force has shrunk because people who are 62, 63, 64, 65 have retired. They can get early social. They used to fold pants at the Gap. They could fold pants faster. At the Olympics, pants folding, they win the competition every year. But then that job is gone. Now no one goes to the Gap to buy pants. They're unemployed all of a sudden, right? And they quit. Or they have a job like they're a manicurist. Imagine that, you're a manicurist. What kind of job is this? All day long, people sit close to you and they go like this. They go all day long. You know, I'm out of here, man. I'm done. I'm done. So you quit. So you lose a few million people because of retirement. Then people who used to work in hospitality, they get fired from their job. They get fired from their job. What do? They discover, I'm going to change careers. I don't want to work like a farm animal anymore. I want to have a new career. They try new things. The kids, you have octuplets, you can't get a job, you can't work because you have kids. So all these problems are pervasive, right? Education saves a day, and this is what's important to you guys. College, some college, high school, no high school. These people, oddly enough, are in short supply right now. First, because more and more people get college degrees. There are fewer and fewer people who don't have a college degree. And they all lost their jobs last March, April, May. Now they're being called back. And what are they doing? They're going to their employer and going, I used to have another career. Yeah. You know, I'm going to change my career. I'm taking Abraham Maslow's ladder, and I'm climbing up a couple rungs on Abraham Maslow's ladder. Thank you very much. I don't like being treated like a farm animal and getting paid like crap. But if you look at job payment, wage growth, same person, 12 months apart, you don't see much wage pressure because doctors, they're not getting pay raises. Lawyers, accountants, economists, they weren't fired. They're not in short supply. It's low-wage workers that are getting extra money. And they don't make a lot of money. So if they get paid a little extra spread across the economy, it's not going to do a lot for inflation. So I don't see wage inflation being bad. Now, inflation is here. There's no doubt about it. Look at this. This is the Fed's favorite measure of inflation, not CPI, but PCE. Red is core, no food and energy. This is food and energy. All right. Now, I'm going to pick a bone here with Lawrence. I think Lawrence is dead wrong on his inflation call. He said they're going to raise rates next year 2, 3, or 4 times, each a quarter point. He's wrong. There's no way they're going to do it. And here's why. The inflation that we're seeing on the slide that he showed is very contained to a few areas of the economy. Cars, used cars, new cars, and rental cars. There's massive inflation there. When you have just small areas of inflation, that's not broad-based. It's not going to happen. People say, look, how about the money supply? It's really going up a lot. It's true, it's going up a lot, but that's not going to cause inflation. Why not? Because the money velocity has dropped like a rock. No one's spending the money they have. Banks aren't making loans against the money that they have. And last but not least, this is how much our economy is producing now in income, wages, bonuses, dividends, interest, and royalties. That's how much it was before the recession began. So this is no government assistance here of any kind, right? This is not going to drive inflation because there's not enough money in the system to do it. And the forced savings is going to go away. I'm almost finished. You're going to have to bear with me. Should I go a little bit longer? What do you say? Sorry. I'm sorry. The people have spoken. 2 minutes. I'm almost done. I am. This is inflation expectations. They're not all that high. Inflation's not. People don't expect inflation. They see inflation's in a few areas that are really weird, and they're going to come down. Demand will fall as people don't need stuff anymore, as it gets sated. Bottleneck supply chain bottlenecks will eventually go away, whether it's 6 months, 9 months, 12 months or more, they'll go away. Inflation over the last 4 months has steadily declined month over month. It's still high at 3%, but it was 4.5% and it's steadily declining. Oil prices are up and car prices. That's not economy-wide inflation. I just don't see it. And moreover, don't pay attention to Wall Street. They're idiots. They know nothing. Nothing. This is the federal funds rate. It was 0. It never went up from here till there. It never rose. But Wall Street that up. Oh, it goes up finally. A broken clock works once a day too, right? So don't look at them. So what's the Fed going to do? The Fed will do nothing. The Fed's told us Fed funds is going to go nowhere until maybe the earliest end of 22, I think early 23. This is still over a year away. We don't have inflation will be going down, not fast enough, but it will be going down. GDP is going to be delicately falling over the next couple of years too. How on earth can you get the Treasury going up much? It goes from 1.6 to 1.7 to 1. Maybe it's 2, but we're not going to have much inflation because it's secularly declining. GDP growth is going down. I just don't see it. Now, the only catch, rents, housing. So, now, the catch here is rents are 30% of CPI and 20% of the PCE, the Fed's favorite measure of inflation. If rents go up and continue to rise, we're a little screwed because that will drive the inflation numbers up and the Fed may be forced to raise rates before they want to. So watch rents really, really, really closely. Another measure of rents. They're all going up. 2 more slides and we're done. First, if you don't know where you live, I have an arrow over Florida. Florida's okay. It's a little weaker because of tourism and travel, right? You're a little weaker. But it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. This is immigration. 2018. Florida was 13th best. 55.6% of people were moving into the state as opposed to the other 43.6%. Then in 2019, it went up to 7th. People keep moving to Florida. You have great weather, cheap housing, and low taxes. It's the magic triptych. You need those 3 things to attract people, and you've got it in droves. In 2020, it went back to 9th from 7th, but it's still really good. So people keep moving to Florida, and where do they move? So there's different color arrows. The dark arrows are nearby. The red are nearby. Tampa, Sarasota, and Fort Myers, all nearby. Then there's the Orlando complex of Lakeland, Orlando, Daytona, and Melbourne. 7 cities in Florida in the top 15. Florida is a magnet for growth, it's a friggin' magnet. And in the long run, where are people moving in the East Coast? The Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and then in the Intermountain West. We have the luck of living in Florida. Now, this is the overall. 21 is going to be a good year. 22 will be a good year above trend growth. The Fed won't raise rates until the earliest a year from now, the earliest. We'll create millions of jobs. Inflation should not be a problem with the exception of rents. Follow them closely. Spending on services will rise and housing will become less push as a result. My name is Elliot Eisenberg. I put out 70 words every day on the economy. No graphs, no ads, no charts, no links, no photos. Thank you. Thank you. Sign up. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry I took too long. Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa.
So I'd like to thank our fantastic speakers, Dr. Brad O'Connor, Dr. Lawrence Yoon, and Dr. Elliot Eisenberg. Thank you for your time today. Also, thank you to our Economic Summit Committee for putting this event together. Please give them a round of applause. A video of each speaker's presentation will be on NABOR.com, the website, along with the slides for your reference. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who are here in person, I'll see you in the lobby, and thank you for joining online as well. Have a wonderful day.